Good afternoon and welcome to International Day at H2 Meet. Please take your seats as we will start shortly. Also, using the translation receiver, Korean is channel 7, English is channel 8. Our first speaker is Shirley Vega, commercial counselor at Embassy of Colombia in Korea.
Good afternoon, everyone, distinguished guests. It is an honor to open today's session for Country Day in this afternoon. My name is Shirley Vega. I'm the commercial attaché and the director of ProColombia here in South Korea. And it is an honor to present the opportunities that Colombia has to offer within the global hydrogen value chain. So I would like to begin by highlighting 5 key reasons why Korea is an strategic ally in Colombia in the roadmap of hydrogen development. First of all, I don't know if you are aware, but Colombia and Korea have double taxation agreement. It's been in force since 2014, and this helped reducing the tax burden and the investment on the investments and operations. We also have a free trade agreement with Korea since 2016, making South Korea the only FTA partner country for Colombia among Asian countries. This gives us a really preferential access for Colombian exports to Korea, especially in the hydrogen value chain. And as you can see in the slide, we will have 0 tariffs for hydrogen, ammonia, and methanol. We already have 0 tariffs for any of these 3 products. Third, we also have a competitive maritime transit. We have efficient shipping times from Colombia to Korea due to our FTA. At the moment, the transportation takes around 24 days, and we are looking forward and working towards reducing this number in the coming years. And lastly, we also have a great cooperation with Korea. We have active participation of KOTRA and KOICA in different projects of our country. And we also just launched our energy roadmap in 2021 with the goal of meeting at least 1% of Korean hydrogen demand, export demand. This is a list of few agreements and achievements that we have reached with Korea since 2021. In August 25th of 2021, we signed an MOU between the Ministries of Environment and our Ministry of Colombia with the main focus of promoting energy transition, renewable energy, and green hydrogen. We also have our Hydrogen Association, which joined forces with H2 Korea to be part of the GIA, the World Alliance of Hydrogen Industries Associations. And last year, ProColombia and H2 Korea also signed an MOU to boost public and private sectors in both countries, as we have the similar goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Now I'll explain you briefly 5 reasons why Colombia is a great destination for hydrogen investments. I will mention them really quick, as we will explain them in detail later. First one, we have a great energy matrix. We have vast renewable resources, and it is possible to produce hydrogen in Colombia with our local resources. We have a great competitive hydrogen estimated production cost. We have a national strategy for the hydrogen, and we are aiming to become the hub of export platform in the region. And lastly, we have a strong institution and regulatory framework that we keep improving towards the development of this industry. I will move forward and explain you more. So as I mentioned before, Colombia, reason number 1 is the natural resources. I don't know if you know where Colombia is. We are located in the northwest we are the North country, the first country in South America. We're in the middle of the Americas, and we have the Andes mountain crossing across the country, which lead us to be one of the few countries in South America with tropical weather. We have no winter, no seasons, so which means that in the areas where we produce solar energy, we will have pretty much 90% of the production in solar energy in this particular location, and you can have like these natural resources and these weather or climate conditions throughout the year. So, thanks to our diverse geography and favorite climate conditions, you can have a great energy matrix that will be really easy for you to implement when you develop hydrogen or produce hydrogen in Colombia. So in terms of solar, Colombia surpasses the world average solar radiation by 60%, reaching 4.5 kilowatts hour per square meter. This is pretty much bigger than the world average, which is 3.9. In wind, we have a 50 gigawatt potential on onshore and offshore. And we are currently developing the offshore roadmap as well. We have different wind speeds in La Guajira, which is the northest region of Colombia. And in this region, you have the wind speed of 9 meters per second, which is pretty much the double of the world average speed. Third one, which is the most important, we have hydro resources. Pretty much Colombia is among the 10 countries that concentrate 46% of the international water supply, suitable for hydroelectric generation. Our water supply is 6 times bigger than the world average and 3 times bigger than Latin America's one. So you can have around 740,000 watersheds and a multi-annual flow of 52 cubic meters per second. Lastly, we also have a great potential for biomass. We are still developing this sector, but Colombia has very good soil and resources to produce biomass. We are estimated that the potential of Colombia is around 500,000 terajoules per year. And we also have geothermal, which will be estimated to be 1.5 gigawatts by the coming years. So as I mentioned previously, we have a great green energy matrix already, full of renewable resources. At the moment, pretty much 70% of our energy matrix is renewable, where 64% is hydro, 6% is solar, and 1% is biomass. We also have 1% of wind. And the other 29.3% is non-renewable, but it's also really important for us. We have natural gas, which is 15%. We have coal, 8%, and liquid fuels with around 6%. So I'm going to continue with the second reason why Colombia is important for the investment of hydrogen. We are estimated, according to the IRENA, to be the 4th lowest hydrogen production cost and the 2nd lowest in Latin America by 2050. The estimated cost of the hydrogen ranks from $0.8 per kilogram to $1.1 per kilogram, depending on if it's green or blue. And also, we are currently, according to H2Lag research, this year, we ranked top 3 hydrogen policy and regulatory framework in Latin America after Chile and Brazil. So the third reason I will explain you is why Colombia, I think you all know that in Latin America, pretty much we have 3 countries aiming to be the producer of the region. Colombia has national hydrogen strategy, and we are working really, really closely with the national government, regional governments, and corporate public. We're trying to integrate the whole value chain to meet the goals of the government. Our government has set a $5.5 billion investment in hydrogen production to increase the demand of these projects by 2030. And with the support of the International Development Bank and the UK government, we built our hydrogen roadmap for the first time in September 2021. Currently, we are doing the second version of the roadmap with more details and more specific project master plan with Alliance of German Cooperation called GIS. So hopefully at the end of this year, we will have a second version of the Colombian hydrogen roadmap with more details on the German insights. And the goal of Colombia so far is to have an estimated hydrolysis capacity of 1 to 3 gigawatts by 2030 and 25 gigawatts by 2050. The estimated demand for transportation of light-duty fuel cells vehicles and heavy-duty fuel cells vehicles is around 1,000 to 1,500, on average max 2,000 that we are aiming to supply by 2030. And we also aim to have around 100 fueling stations and the development of this infrastructure needed by the end of 2030. So pretty much our job is to promote, and we need the support of Korean companies to build the infrastructure that we need in order to reach these government goals. Ideally, we will end up creating around 15,000 jobs for the community, and we will have around, in our main trade destinations partners are Korea, China, Japan, and the US. I will also invite you to scan the QR code, but we will also send it by email to your emails, the current status of our roadmap, and we will send you a notification when we have our new roadmap for you to check which new policies and incentives we are building towards the development of this industry. And this is pretty much a brief of how we're doing so far, like the details of how we want to achieve this goal. As you can see, the next decade, pretty much by 2030, Colombia will be concentrated in the regulation of the hydrogen production, storage, and distribution. Our international cooperation and agreements are key, will play a key role to facilitate the export of the green hydrogen, and the investment of foreign partners will be also essential for the building of the infrastructure that we are trying to construct. In this chart, you can see the perspectives of 2030, 40, and 50. You can see also our hydrolysis capacity that we're aiming by 2030, 40s and 50s, ideally 25 gigawatts by 2050. The annual demand for hydrogen estimated by 2050 is around 150 kilotons, and which will be pretty much built by reforming natural gas pipeline into a consumption for our refineries. So how are we going to do this? Colombia is also working to be the trade platform and the region hub. We're trying to build the infrastructure needed for this purpose. We are actually building 5 hubs for the development of hydrogen. We're building corridors and valleys to have the network of production, distribution, and transportation of hydrogen in strategic regions like Atlántico, Bolívar, La Guajira, which is this area in the, this doesn't work, well, in the north. And we will also have the Pacific to transport the hydrogen to Asia mainly. So we can use the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans to build these corridors and improve the transportation time that hydrogen will need to reach Asia. We are also developing, or we are building the master plan. Some of them are in feasibility studies, some in PF, for 10 port zones with access to the Atlantic and Pacific coast. We have the port of Barranquilla and Cartagena that already have infrastructure for handling ammonia and liquid fuel for exports. However, we are enhancing this port infrastructure in Colombia. We also currently have 2 refineries. I guess you are familiar with them. We have 1 regasification terminal as well, and our natural gas pipeline is around 7,500 kilometers in length, and with a distribution network that supplies the national demand pretty much of 911 MPCD. So pretty much this is the infrastructure pipeline and master plan that we have. That's a separate presentation that if you are curious to know which will be the corridors, ports, and all the infrastructure we're trying to build around the hydrogen hubs, I'm happy to share that presentation with you because it's a totally different topic. So as you can see, Colombia is in the middle of the Americas, and we are aiming to become the hub of production and exports for the region. You can see that we have pretty much destination we have connection with more than 700 ports in 40 countries around the world, and we are working really closely with both governments in Asia, not only Korea, but also China and Japan, to build a faster route to Asia from Colombia, as we are developing the Pacific shore as well. This is a little brief about the current status and initiatives that our government and private and public sector have initiated. Basically, our local energy leaders in Colombia are two, Ecopetrol and Promigas. We have initiated major projects. Ecopetrol already launched a hydrogen-based industrial feedstock production in Cartagena refinery. Promigas is actually spearheading the integration of hydrogen into Colombia natural gas network, so they have the whole role of the natural gas pipeline to combine it and to transform it to refineries. And Ecopetrol is also leading Colombia's first sustainable mobility pilot using hydrogen buses or using hydrogen mobility in Bogota. They are also closely working, and they have also a master plan for mobility. If you are interested to know, I'm happy to put you in touch with them as well. In the next step, you can see Colombia is highlighting Ecopetrol as well, which we are planning to build the development of 2 large-scale green hydrogen projects and its refineries. These projects have to be supported by international players, and we aim to have a capacity of 60 megawatt each with an estimated total investment of $150 million USD. By 2030, Colombia also has a blue hydrogen mega project, which is going to be built in Barranca Bermeja refinery, also at the north, and we expect to have an investment of 1.4 billion USD, and this project is expected to produce 195 kilotons of hydrogen, blue hydrogen annually. I will move forward to our investment opportunities. Colombia is seeking strategic partners pretty much for every step of the value chain, but especially around the production and the exports. We are actively looking for partners to support the following areas: greenfield low emissions on hydrogen projects, especially for large-scale development of green hydrogen infrastructure. We're looking for greenfield power-to-X projects, application for both domestic and international markets, including sectors such as fertilizers, sustainable mobility, refineries, and e-fuels. We also are actively looking for international cooperation, super open to have investors on board to bet on Colombia and help us develop the sector. And we are looking forward to have an electrolyzer manufacturing and assembling plant in Colombia sometime within the coming years. And yeah, basically, pretty much, we need the support. Colombia has a huge dream to become. We have the natural resources, we have the policy, the framework, the willingness, but we need technology, and this is why we are here today. This is pretty much the status on the current projects that we have. We have a total of 27 projects, some of them in concepts, 10 are in concept, 10 are in feasibility studies, 3 are in construction, 4 are already operating, and we are still updating this roadmap and this pipeline of projects. Hopefully we will have the next version in October, so we're happy to share the new pipeline of Colombia in the coming months. Also, Colombia has we just launched the offshore wind renewable roadmap, and we have an offshore auction and also like different projects around the offshore. We will be pretty much the first Latin American country to launch an offshore project, and we are working towards the development of this industry as well. Currently, the schedule of that auction already, we launched it like last month, and the qualification process will go until December of this year. And initially, beginning of next year, we will have the winning bidders and assignment of the temporary occupancy permits for this project. If you also have interest in this project, I can share you more details and also put you in touch with AHN, which is the company in charge of this project. And lastly, we have 1 minute less. As I mentioned, Colombia has a really well-established international framework. We have a reliable institutional framework that supports the development of energy sector. We have associations, government entities, private and public partners that we are all aligned to build and reduce the carbon emissions by 2050. So this is pretty much a little bit of the energy transition policy and legal framework. I will send you these details. And the best are the incentives. We have great incentives for Colombia. The main one is that you have 50% income tax deduction in the first 15 years of your investment. So if you also want to import technology and bring technology to Colombia to produce the development of the hydrogen sectors, we also have VAT exemption on these imports. And we have accelerated depreciation, which will be really helpful for you to manage your financial model in Colombia. And yeah, pretty much if you have any questions, feel free to reach us to ProColombia at svega@procolombia.co. And also in this area, we will be giving you and handing you the brochure of Colombian hydrogen roadmap with our email address, which is seoul@procolombia.co. Thank you very much for your time today. Let me know if you have any questions, and if not, we look forward to speaking with you soon as well.
Thank you for your speech, Shirley. Just a short announcement. We have translation receiver in front of you. It has 2 channels. Korean is channel 7 and English is channel 8. We'll go on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Zubin Villamoria of University of Sydney from Australia.
Great, thank you so much. Hello everyone, it's great to be here at the Hydrogen Meet conference. My name is Zubin Villamoria. I'm currently studying a PhD at the University of Sydney focused on regulatory frameworks of hydrogen, both in Australia as well as internationally. And I'm also an investment manager at Palisade Infrastructure Partners, which is an infrastructure firm that invests in clean energy technologies such as renewable energy and is starting to look at emerging technologies such as hydrogen and other kind of emerging technologies in the clean energy space. The purpose of my presentation today is focused on 5 main areas. So the first main area is focused on the Australian hydrogen landscape, and I'll be discussing Australia's original national hydrogen strategy that it developed back in 2019, and then its more recent and revitalized strategy that was announced 2 weeks ago in September 2024. The second aspect of my presentation will focus on the key market barriers and market failures around hydrogen, both from a regulatory perspective as well as broader market factors as well. Thirdly, I'll be going through specific case studies in Australia of deals that have been successful and those that have failed, and discussing the kind of key parameters and drivers of what leads to a successful project in Australia. And then finally, I'll be discussing regulatory support mechanisms that are available in Australia and what are likely to lead to further projects reaching financial close and final investment decisions. So moving to the Australian hydrogen landscape. So Australia was the 3rd country in 2019 to develop a national hydrogen strategy. It was a coordinated effort across Australia's states and territories, as well as the federal government, to achieve a shared vision of clean hydrogen. The strategy itself was framed around 4 broad principles. The first was that the strategy would be adaptive and nationally consistent. And so what that means is that the strategy had certain parameters in place to ensure that it would remain up to date and could be continuously updated every so often. The second principle was ensuring regulatory consistency across different states as well as project approval processes. And so in Australia, for example, hydrogen projects span a range of different industries and require a range of different approvals, from land and permitting to engineer design, etc. And so the strategy was about ensuring and streamlining those approval processes to expedite project delivery. The third key principle was concerning supporting partnerships to activate the market. So there's a key focus on hydrogen hubs, which is the notion of ensuring that users and producers of hydrogen operate in the same area to minimize transport costs and to minimize project costs. And the final principle is around prioritizing safety and environmental sustainability. To ensure that the strategy remains adaptive and kind of up to date, there were certain mechanisms in place to ensure that it remained up to date. The first one there in the middle of the slide is the National Hydrogen Regulatory Review. And so in Australia, there have been a number of studies done to ensure that Australia's legal frameworks were up to date and garnered industry feedback on that. And so with the 2019 strategy, the main regulatory barriers that existed in Australia were firstly that there were regulatory gaps that the government had identified. That meant that hydrogen should be regulated for safety reasons, but are currently not. Secondly, there were certain areas where application of existing legislation weren't suitable for the hydrogen sector. Thirdly, there was also regulatory uncertainty where existing legislation created the need for novel regulatory approaches. And finally, there was identified that there was a lot of regulatory duplication in the process. The next kind of main area of Australia's hydrogen landscape is a national infrastructure assessment. So following the Australian National Hydrogen Strategy, the government has committed to commence producing a national infrastructure assessment, which really focuses on what primary infrastructure requirements are needed for the hydrogen industry to take off. And what that study found was that there's a need for increased renewable energy supply, there's a need to co-locate hydrogen production with demand locations, and there's a need for greater investment in pipelines. Since Australia, within Australia at least, pipeline transport is determined the main method of transporting hydrogen. And then the final 2 aspects from the national strategy are that the Australian government has committed to producing a State of Hydrogen report. And this report focuses on the current investment landscape and current projects in Australia. And the most recent State of Hydrogen report highlighted that Australia has a substantial pipeline of announced projects. However, very few projects in Australia actually reach final investment decision or financial close. And so that issue has led to a national hydrogen strategy review that commenced last year and concluded with the revitalised strategy that was announced 2 weeks ago. And what this review entailed was it was ensuring that Australia positioned itself to be a global hydrogen leader by 2030. And the review has taken into account developments in the US, such as the United States Inflation Reduction Act, as well as developments in the European Union. And it's led to a refresh strategy for Australia. So this graphic on this slide was taken from the National Hydrogen Strategy Review and compared the Australian 2019 strategy to the strategies of various other nations. And a few key points to highlight are that firstly, within Australia, the 2019 strategy didn't have any production targets or demand targets, whereas as shown, most other jurisdictions had specific targets that provided investors with certain levels of confidence, as well as suppliers that there would be certain targets being achieved. But Australia did have various other things such as production incentives, project funding, and also a net zero target legislated. But what this showed was that Australia was lagging international peers in terms of their strategy, and that was leading to projects not reaching final investment decision. And something that the 2024 strategy emphasizes is that Australia will need to compete with other nations to be considered a global hydrogen leader. And that was the first kind of terminology that Australia has used within the hydrogen sector around competition with other nations. Previously, it's had a very coordinated approach to working together with other countries. But now, with the new strategy, it's really focused on competing with other export nations to ensure that hydrogen produced in Australia can be the preferred import for importing countries. So this section now is on the 2024 National Hydrogen Strategy. So as I mentioned before, it's spawned out of developments internationally. There have been a lot of targets from potential importing countries such as Japan, Korea, and the European Union. And there's 4 key aspects of the strategy that I'd like to emphasize. The first key element of the strategy is that it's very focused on supply side and ensuring that hydrogen produced in Australia is cost competitive with other nations. And there's been a lot of initiatives within Australia that have been announced. For example, the Australian government has announced a hydrogen production tax incentive and a hydrogen head start program that is focused on bringing down the costs of renewable hydrogen. Secondly, in terms of demand, the strategy specifically focuses on 4 key sectors as opposed to hydrogen generally. And the key sectors that the Australian government will be focusing on are green metals, ammonia, long-haul transport, as well as power and grid support. And within that as well, the strategy has a clear focus on renewable hydrogen, so hydrogen produced from renewable energy and electrolyzers, whereas previously Australia had adopted what is termed a technology-neutral stance of being indifferent between renewable hydrogen or hydrogen produced from steam methane reforming with carbon capture. And then the final 2 aspects of the strategy are focused on the community as well as trade. So in terms of community, the hydrogen strategy recognises that there's a need for jobs and economic benefits to all Australians. And this is to do with the notion of a just transition and ensuring that Australian industries such as coal or oil and gas, while we transition to a hydrogen economy, it's about ensuring that jobs are able to be, that skills from those sectors are able to be replicable to the hydrogen sector, as well as involving the First Nations people in benefit sharing, since a lot of the hydrogen developments will be potentially on land that affects the First Nation and Indigenous people of Australia. And then finally, in terms of trade, Australia also has specific export targets now, and it plans to export 0.2 million tonnes and potentially 1.2 million tonnes of hydrogen by 2030 per year. And then the final table in the Australian section is just a kind of summary of what the 2024 strategy provides compared to the 2019 strategy. And the key highlights are that it's much more focused on specific sectors. It has a much more clearer focus on cost competitiveness. It highlights clearly hydrogen hubs and infrastructure as a way of driving hydrogen demand in the sector. And it also is very clear in terms of upscaling support for innovation and industry. So that's the kind of overview of the Australian hydrogen landscape and what has led to the Australian government revitalising its strategy. The next section is focused on the key market barriers and market failures within the sector. And so this diagram here on the left-hand side shows what factors lead to increases in the amount of announced projects in Australia and what the government has identified as being the key supply-side drivers and demand-side drivers. And on the right-hand side are the key supply barriers and demand barriers. So in terms of the supply drivers, the first main driver to increase the supply of hydrogen is decreasing the cost of renewable energy, since that is a large input, obviously, in terms of producing renewable energy and renewable hydrogen. And the second main aspect of increasing supply-side drivers is through government support. such as policy frameworks and financial support. In terms of demand drivers, the main demand drivers within Australia are to do with energy security and diversifying Australia's energy supply. Since Australia is a country that has been very dependent on coal exports and coal production for energy, and so hydrogen offers a very decarbonised and clean alternative. And the other demand drivers are looking at export opportunities such as South Korea and Japan. And then in terms of the supply barriers and demand barriers, the main barriers for Australia in terms of the supply side are to do with the actual nature of hydrogen, the fact that it does have increased risks associated with it and increased storage and production and transport costs relative to other technologies. And then in terms of the demand barriers, the main barrier that Australia has identified is that there's quite a lack of market certainty. So in Australia, there's no specific guarantee of origin scheme, and so it makes it hard for demand recipients and purchasers of hydrogen to know that that hydrogen is clean or to track the production process. And so those are the factors that have led to a lot of projects being announced, but not many projects reaching financial close. And so the next kind of section is focused on specific case studies in Australia and looking at a project that has reached financial close successfully and a project that did receive government funding but ultimately last year was scrapped for certain reasons. So I'll start by prefacing that in Australia there are not too many projects that have reached financial close, and that has been the large focus from the Australian government of ensuring that projects with this new strategy and with the new regulatory framework are able to achieve final investment decision. But this is one project that did reach financial close back in 2022. And it was a project being developed by Ongi and Yarra, focused on producing clean hydrogen and producing green ammonia for export. And the key reasons that led to the success of this project over other projects are highlighted in the bottom right-hand box. Firstly, there was integration with existing infrastructure. That meant that they used existing ammonia production facilities to reduce costs and improve scalability. Secondly, the project itself received support from ARENA, which is the Australian government agency responsible for providing revenue and support to hydrogen projects within Australia. And then thirdly, there was a self-offtake model where the developer was the one who was actually going to be using the green hydrogen. And so that meant that there wasn't a need for any guarantee of origin scheme, since the end users of hydrogen, being the clean hydrogen to produce clean ammonia, there were no fears for them of whether the hydrogen itself was clean or green, given that they were using it themselves. In contrast, this is a project that back in 2021 was announced, but most recently last year was actually withdrawn. It's a project that essentially involved a 10 megawatt electrolyzer with plans to develop a larger electrolyzer at a clean energy innovation park. And the main reasons that this project failed were mainly to do with the kind of logistics and transport. So they were planning to produce hydrogen in an area that was extremely far away from where the hydrogen would ultimately be used, and that led to significant transport for trucking costs and highlights the importance of producing hydrogen where demand centres are located. And also there was a failure despite substantial funding. So this project was going to be having half of its project costs funded by the government, but notwithstanding that, and even with the significant government expenditure that was planned for the project, ATCO ultimately withdrew from the project last year and cited plans to produce projects closer to hydrogen demand centres. And so these case studies really highlight the importance of using existing facilities that can drive reduced costs, and also thinking about where to actually locate these facilities. So this project was located in a very rural and remote location, which meant that certain costs were lower. For example, land costs would have been lower, grid connection costs could have been lower, and maybe labour might have been lower as well, but ultimately it was far away from where the hydrogen would be used. And then the final section of my presentation will be focused on some of the regulatory support mechanisms that Australia has announced. And so the first one was announced last year and earlier this year is a hydrogen production tax incentive. And this is very similar to the United States Inflation Reduction Act and was kind of done as a response to that and using the lessons learned from that process. And it's planning to provide a government commitment of $6.7 billion over 10 years for renewable hydrogen production in Australia, and involves an Australian $2 incentive per kilogram of renewable hydrogen. The second main incentive program that the government has committed to doing is a hydrogen head start program, and that is to support large-scale hydrogen projects given their critical importance for early movers. And this is really about ensuring that companies that might be hesitant to be a first mover or early mover in hydrogen are supported financially. The third major regulatory incentive is hydrogen hubs and investing to support the rollout of regional hubs across Australia. And then finally, one to highlight is the governmental agencies that provide funding for early stage projects such as ARENA and CEFC. So this presentation has focused on the Australian hydrogen landscape and is a good case study of a country such as Australia that had a strategy back in 2019 and essentially needed to update and revitalise it relative to other countries and developments that have happened, and really highlights the need for companies and developers of hydrogen to think a lot about the funding available, as well as the location and locating hydrogen close to demand and trying to utilise existing facilities where available. Thank you a lot for your time, and hopefully the presentation was useful to seeing the case study for Australia and its new hydrogen strategy. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Subin. Our next speaker is Antoine Jordan, of Switzerland Innovation from Switzerland.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to be here this afternoon to present a very down-to-earth project from Switzerland, especially on the research and innovation side. So I represent today EPFL and Switzerland Innovation, so really a group of research institutions in Switzerland that do research not only on engineering, but we also have a specific program on hydrogen. And I will touch upon a very specific example. To start with, a few examples on the context. In Switzerland, the global warming is happening twice as fast as in the rest, or on average, in the rest of the world. And we have quite a strong political and public pressure to fight this global warming. On top of that, the Paris Agreement decision turning point created a really turning point to create a strategy around low carbon society. In Switzerland, we don't have a strategy on hydrogen, but we have a net zero emission strategy for 2050. And we are all here because we think that hydrogen is a key candidate to enable that on one side, and is used mainly as an energy vector. And that's why in the last few years we saw a growing number of public and private sector players. But the contribution it makes in creating a low carbon society, I mean the contribution of hydrogen, will depend directly on how it is produced. And that's why we really focus on production and usage of green hydrogen. The way hydrogen is produced, I mentioned, will depend also largely on the context. And by that I mean the topology of the place, the country, the climate, the industries, and every other factor that could play a role in that. And the type of project launched then by the different country will have also an impact on what kind of technology or application and the business model that will be defined. And I just wanted to highlight that by, and you see here the demands of green hydrogen that will grow by 2050. Actually, it will be expected to grow by 400 times and in the 10 next year. And Switzerland is especially interested in hydrogen for the energy storage. Currently in Switzerland, we have quite a strong mix of production, but the largest by far is the hydropower electric production, which serve very well in Switzerland and in the rest of Europe to play and to play the role of a lung to smoothen the energy production and peak of solar, for example. But the capacity of the infrastructure nowadays is limited. We cannot build any more dam and plants for hydropower production. And we face a very strong seasonality of electric production. And we absolutely need hydrogen to flatten this curve. And that's why we produce green or sustainable energy. And we really think that hydrogen can play a key role in this act. Now, I would like to highlight one example of technology that could be useful worldwide. But first, let me highlight, and here is the main catch, of green hydrogen. For the moment, there is no real market for hydrogen. As you can see, green hydrogen, and that's a report from Bloomberg, costs more, or between 6 and 10 euros per kilo, while grey hydrogen costs way less. So there are two strategies if we want to create this market. Either you have taxes for CO2 or grey carbon, or you try to develop technology to reduce the cost associated to that. In Europe, there will be soon CO2 taxes, so we hope that it will greatly help to create the market, but the technology is also quite important. And we have seen Australia, and they have a strategy to produce a lot of green hydrogen, while in South Korea, as far as I understand, they have a strategy to put in place and build the infrastructures based on grey hydrogen, and then to move to green hydrogen, having the infrastructures and market or business model in place associated with hydrogen. From a technology perspective, the good news is that first, green hydrogen will eventually undercut blue and grey in all markets, but this will take a little bit of time. And the main trigger will be if electrolyzer can enable this move, from a technology perspective, can be mature enough to enable this move. And for example, this is exactly the example I want to give with anion exchange membrane from a lab at EPFL. So to elaborate a bit more on this anion exchange membrane from Professor Xile Hu at EPFL, he is research engineer in the interface between material science and chemistry, and he has been designing an anion exchange membrane that is low cost and that is of high efficiency. Low cost because they don't use any precious material, really earth-abundant materials, and high efficiency because he was able to design a membrane that will trigger quite a good porosity. And the beauty of it is, and that's main labs or main research in Switzerland. They try to produce spin-off. So there is an initiative also at EPFL and national level to encourage the creation of spin-off from research. And this is the example here with Novamea, a spin-off that has now a business plan, a product to engage with industry worldwide. And as you know, Switzerland is quite small. We don't have large key players as we have in Korea, in Australia, or in other parts of the world. And that's why our role is to connect these companies with key stakeholders in order to scale up production and enable new products to be created. This is a further example of the density and diversity of research we are conducting on hydrogen. So although we don't have a strategy in Switzerland for hydrogen, there is quite a bottom-up approach at EPFL for creating hydrogen research capabilities and also, let's say, a very well constructed collaboration and interdisciplinary collaboration between labs on different topics in order to tackle hydrogen production, storage, and usage. And you can see here the different fields of hydrogen or related hydrogen topic that we touch upon. I want to stress here that 80% of the labs have created spin-off, so have pushed technologies on the market and are really willing to engage with key industrial players in order to have access to the market challenges, in order to solve together key issues related to that. So I will not highlight into too much detail the different lab. Maybe a few could be interesting, such as the one of Professor Maréchal, that he's having a systemic research on energy resources locally, on a city or area or country level. He's trying to understand all the energy sources, not only hydrogen, but maybe heat, production of electricity, biomass, and scrap, and all these elements that are valuable in order to find an optimum solution of energy mix and energy vectors to be optimized. I've mentioned before that we have a quite dynamic scene around startup. We've reached just at EPFL 500 startup creation since we launched our initiative 15 years ago. And nowadays we are producing between 35 and 40 startups a year just at EPFL, one of the main research institutions in Switzerland. And I just wanted to highlight here the number of startups related to hydrogen that are really gaining attention from international level. As you can see, we have a startup called Neology in ammonia cracking solution that is willing to find partners for this ammonia cracking. But for example, we have Novea that I mentioned before, or Captis, that is taking the gas exhaust from heavy truck in order to separate CO2 and produce hydrogen on the truck directly. So these are examples of applications that will help not only to produce hydrogen, but help the transition from what we have today and what we need to build for the future. So we went through a bit the research to the market side. Now I just want to highlight two projects, or one project at least, that triggered a very interesting amount of attention in Switzerland and also linked to Korea. First of all, you see here the 17, the modest number of refueling stations that we have in Switzerland that are quite well spread over one axis between Zurich and Lausanne. And you will understand why right now is because we had a project, it was a world premiere with Hyundai, in order to build with a logistic company a refueling station, heavy truck powered by hydrogen, by green hydrogen. And it was a very successful business model because they partner with electric utility company in order to use hydropower hydrogen, hydropower electricity, sorry, in order to turn it into hydrogen and to use the heavy truck from Hyundai for the first time in the world, in the Swiss market. So this is really also something that Switzerland wants to position it in, is not only to be a fertile ground for pioneering projects, but as well as research and also for pre-scale-up projects to industrialization. And this model was also quite interesting because they could get rid of heavy-duty taxes and also on taxes on energy production, since they were producing green energy. So it was a very good model, really built bottom-up, because the government in Switzerland is not investing directly into companies, but is building the framework condition for a company to have successful models towards each other. And now I just wanted to highlight how a company could engage with Switzerland in order to find out projects and opportunities to really activate. It's quite a pragmatic presentation, but at the end of the day, it's project that will make and play a difference at local and international level. So we have built what we call a Swiss Tech Discovery Program, where together with companies, we sit down and we try to identify how hydrogen technology will shape the future of a company, and what kind of opportunities should we trigger in order to make this happen. And then we tap into the research, the Swiss research ecosystem, the business ecosystem, as well as the technology and startup ecosystem, in order to propose such very concrete projects to activate together. That's my last slide of the presentation, and I think it's quite of a summary of what I all said, but very important is to mention that the government support goes to research and innovation. So we have also mechanisms to finance innovation or industry-academia collaboration, especially for hydrogen, in order to contribute to this energy and environmental transition. And to position Switzerland strongly in the hydrogen research and startup scene. That's really what Switzerland aims for. We are a small market, and we don't have very large resources of companies. And last but not least, I want to highlight from a Swiss perspective that we absolutely need to increase the capacity around PV, because nowadays we are almost break-even in terms of electricity production if we sum the export and import equation. But if we really want to transition to green hydrogen production, we'll need to increase a lot, especially the PV production. And all in all, I think also from an Asian perspective, Europe will also bring quite a lot of opportunities in the market, so outside Switzerland, because Europe is putting a lot of resources and projects together, and there are a lot of strong actors that are emerging. I hope it gave you a bit glimpse of what Switzerland is aiming for, and please don't hesitate to liaise with us or with the Swiss embassy in Korea if you're willing to know more about those opportunities. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your speech, Antoine. We'll move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Niklaus Davos from Cluster of Bioeconomy and Environment of Western Macedonia from Greece.
Hello also from my side. My name is Nikolaos Davos. I'm coming from Greece, so another European country, just a bit to the south. And I will give you a glimpse about what is happening regarding hydrogen in Greece, and specifically to our region in northwest part of Greece, the region of Western Macedonia. It's not changing? Oh, sorry. Okay. So a few words about our organization. It is an industrial cluster. So we are a quintuple helix cluster, as we call it. So we have members from the industry, as mainly SMEs. We have members from research and academia. We have members from the public authorities, but also we have environmental and social organizations. We were established as a non-for-profit company around 10 years ago, and we are trying to bridge the entrepreneurship with research in order to create value for the area. Different areas of activities, from bioeconomy, of course, as we, in our name, but also regarding the green hydrogen the last 5 or 6 years, and other related activities as well. As I already told you, we have around 60 members in Western Macedonia from the whole 5 helix of the regional economy, public R&D, entrepreneurship, environment, and social. And regarding our project portfolio, we work on private basis, but also we work with European research and national funded projects. So these are, let's say, per category, what we own. Most of them are Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020 projects in different fields. And look, as I already told you, here you can see it by sector. And of course, we have 11 projects in the right corner in clean technologies and hydrogen. These are both European, but also national and regional projects. And I will tell you a few things about it. But where we are located, you see the orange dot over there. We are in the northwest part of Greece. The region is called Western Macedonia. It's the only landlocked region of Greece. So we have a continental climate with 13 municipalities, a big unemployment rate due to lignite and energy production that is declining. And here you can see also what was happening. Western Macedonia was and still is the energy heart of Greece. We were producing around 60% of the total electricity of Greece through lignite, and now we are changing fast, and we are having this transition from lignite, from fossil fuels, to renewables, mainly photovoltaics, but also some wind power. And we have, as you can see, nowadays we have 4 lignite power plants, and now it's declining around 20% of the total demand of Greece. And we have also some district heatings in the area. We have the only district heatings in Greece in the area, so we need also some heat because this is a mountainous area and it's quite cold. So what was the vision that we had? From coal, from lignite, what would it happen? And we started around from 2019, let's say, to discuss it a bit more vivid. So we have started declining the lignite production and the power production from lignite. We were starting establishing renewable energy all over the area due to also to the electricity grids that we had over there. And now we are trying to shift to hydrogen. So a new and sustainable production model for the region of Western Macedonia with a low carbon society promoting technical innovation. What are the production goals regarding the hydrogen initiative around Europe? Let's say in general, then I will go a bit further to Greece. So the production of 10 megatons per year of renewable hydrogen annually by 2030, this is the target, and to import an additional 10 million tons by 2030 also. And the infrastructure development is 6 gigawatt of renewable hydrogen electrolyzers by 2024, scaling up to 40 gigawatts by 2030. These are ambitious targets that Europe has already made, and we are trying to follow. Different strategies. We have the EU hydrogen strategy. I will not say more on that. We have the Repower EU. We have the IPCIs, the important projects of common European interest on hydrogen, 4 waves there. We have the Fit for 55 package, regulatory frameworks, the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, but also the Clean Hydrogen Alliance and the Hydrogen Observatory. Here you can see the hydrogen-related IPCI projects. This is the first and the second wave. We have 3 projects here in Greece. And these are the second ones, the third one and the fourth one of the IPCIs. You can find it also, the more details online about this. And of course, we have the European Hydrogen Bank. The first auction took place a few months ago, and now the second one is prepared. And although the Greek companies didn't succeed in the first auction, they have the lowest prices of hydrogen production in total. So we are very much optimistic about the next auctions on the European Hydrogen Bank. What is the hydrogen production goals of Greece? We have, nowadays, we are discussing more about the National Energy Climate Plan, which foresees to produce 1 terawatt of renewable hydrogen by 2030. This is going to be a bit raised due to the further developments, and the 300 megawatt of renewable hydrogen electrolyzers also by 2030. Hydrogen projects in Greece, as already told you, the IPCI of Advent Technologies in Western Macedonia, in Kozani, about the facility to produce hydrogen electrolyzer and high-temperature PEM fuel cells. Also, these are some examples of the valleys that we have obtained as Greece. This is the Crave Hydrogen Valley. It's on the island of Crete. And it's 100 megawatt green hydrogen plant in Atherinolakos, aimed to boost Cretan and European economies, saving 4 key end markets: public mobility, navy, export, and power generation. And the lead is here, the Eunice company, but also some international partners. We have the Triiris, the second hydrogen valley in Greece, in South Greece, in Corinth. Led by Motor Oil, one of the biggest refineries of Greece. And this also will lead to a 30 megawatt electrolyzer in the refineries with different actions. What we do, Klube strategic partner in EU Hydrogen Network. We have different, let's say, memberships. We are part of the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance. We are a member of Hydrogen Europe. And we are the national contact point of the EU Hydrogen Observatory for Greece. And the member, of course, of the Hydrogen Valleys S3 partnership. I will say a few things about our project. I have a bit more details in the presentation, so you can have it afterwards. First, the Green Skills for Hydrogen project. This is the European Hydrogen Skill Alliance, as we call it. It is led by KIT, but also Hydrogen Europe and Hydrogen Euro Research, and we are leading the urgent trainings, as we call them, the need for the reskilling and upskilling on hydrogen technologies in Europe. So this is very crucial. It's one of the bottlenecks of the implementation of the hydrogen investments all over Europe. So we're trying to tackle this and create the whole portfolio of educational activities that needed for the hydrogen technologies. We have done several things in Greece already. We have done a masterclass on hydrogen. We have done 2 hydrogen summer schools, and we are going to implement a third one also this summer in Western Macedonia, Kozani, with big success, and together with our university, the University of Western Macedonia, but also key industrial partners like Advent and like other key partners. This is the training with the Technical Chamber of Greece that we have made. Engineers are a key part of this training, so we need to develop their skills regarding hydrogen also. This is the second project I would like to mention, is the High-to-Market, Hydrogen to Area Markets Reducing Carbon Emissions Footprint. This is a European also project with different regions, different areas of activities in order to develop the hydrogen market. We in Greece developed the hydrogen transport sector, and we are trying to mobilize the different key actors here to kickstart the hydrogen mobility sector in Greece. This is 24/7 Zen project. It's about reversible solid oxide fuel cells and electrolyzers. It's a project that will scale up the solid oxide stacks. So we will now we are producing, and we will have it under modeling and see how this functions both in electricity but also in gas grid. So the optimization of the feasibility deployment in different scenarios will be tested in these reversible solid oxide stacks. Key partner here is Solidera. They are providing the stacks, but also we, together with our research institute, CERT, and with key partners from Greece, DESFA, it's the Greek TSO, and also UNIS, are trying to check and implement this very challenging project. One more project that I would like to mention is the Hydrogen for Marine Infrastructure. As you know, Greece is leading the marine sector. So hydrogen is a big potential in the marine sector for Greece. So we are trying to mobilize PEM fuel cell stacks for different marine applications. We're going to test them in Greece in some vessels. And this is a new project that we are trying to implement. 13 partners from different countries, but the key activities are in Greece. iStentor, it's an innovative energy storage technology towards increased renewables integration and efficient operation. Here we test and model different storage technologies. One of those is power-to-power hydrogen production and facilities. So this is the modeling of this and how they can be combined. This is a project that is local, regional project, and it's going to be started to be implemented next month. So we're really proud of it. So we're trying to change and modify a building that is an agri-vet center in Kozani, and we're going to make it energy positive with hydrogen, with also batteries and photovoltaic. So in here we will have a photovoltaic system, we will have batteries, we will have electrolysis, we will have fuel cells, and we will have a small pilot HRS for 2 HRS vehicles to be established there and test it off-grid if this is capable of producing hydrogen and producing the renewable and being able to establish an energy positive building in our region, in our area. This is a study that we have just finalized. It's the management of urban sewage sludge in the region of Western Macedonia for the production of hydrogen. So in here, we are combining 2, let's say, different methods. The anaerobic digestion for production of biogas, and then from biogas, with steam reforming the production of hydrogen in order to be given to hydrogen fuel cell garbage trucks. So in a cycle, in a circular way, we are trying to mobilize the waste in order to move the waste in for the urban waste management. Here, just yesterday, we kick-started, let's say, one more innovative European project. It's the Live Greenhorn project, Green Hydrogen Mobility for the Transition to Climate Neutrality. Kozani is one of the 100 climate and neutral cities of Europe that is going to try to achieve climate neutrality by 2030. So this is a key project in order to be achieved for the mobility sector. So it's a 5-year project, just kick-started in September. We had yesterday in Greece our kickoff meeting. So we are establishing a 500 kilowatt of electrolyzer powered by a green PPA. We are creating a hydrogen refueling station. This will be the first hydrogen refueling station with on-site production of renewable hydrogen. And we are getting and kickstarted the sustainable mobility section with 1 garbage truck, 1 road shipper, 5 passenger cars, and 6 hydrogen scooters in the city of Kozani. And this will be optimized, and further data will be analyzed through an IT platform dedicated that we will build. In here you can see also the schematic, and we are linking this with Thessaloniki, which is the biggest, the second biggest city of Greece in the north part, in order to also deliver green hydrogen over there to an HRS that is under establishment in Thessaloniki. So this is it from my side. You can have here both my cell phone, but also my email, and the presentation, I think, will be available for you with more details. And Greece, what I'd like to say finally is Greece is a pioneer country. We're just kick-starting nowadays our hydrogen economy, but we have a vast potential and huge potential in renewable, especially in PV, and this makes us unique for new investments in the hydrogen technology. Thank you very much. And
Thank you for your speech, Nicolas. Our next speaker is Eduardo Salamanca of Hydrogen University of Chile from Chile.
Well, hello everyone. It's an honor for me, and on behalf of my company, where I'm managing hydrogen, to be present in this opportunity here in Korea. Well, I'm going to share with you in the following minutes the successful projects that will be involved, and explain a little bit where our field. Hydrogen is a Chilean company. Our field is in hydrogen, of course. And well, when I talk about what's the main focus, and mainly related with retrofitting, is one of the column of our work, and another project, iconic one. We're related with public and industrial projects. First one important challenge that we were involved to give a torch for the Pan American and Pan-American Games last year in our country. We blend propane, gas, and hydrogen on site, producing on site. And for that, I'm going to share with you a video about it. Where is with sound, but you can read the subtitles. the games were last year, as I told you, and our challenge was blended, if you can see there, photovoltaic panels, producing energy and producing for more than 1 month a green hydrogen to blend it with propane. And it was very important, not just because it was the first place in the world with some kind of iconic project like this one, is because if you can see around there, they were for more than 1 month, a lot of people. Of course, they were interesting for the games, and we had to fill the standards, accomplish the standards associated with this kind of project, with people near walking there, okay? Second one is explained is related with retrofit. The first one was a truck, a pickup, from diesel power to hydrogen. In this case, it's a combined fuel cell supercapacitors and battery to give the 70 HP that you need to move and load this pickup. What was the developments related with this? Of course, control strategies are important. In this case, the fuel cell was a small one, and to give the peak of power that you need when the operator or the driver need to give an instant response from the pickup. Second one is related with converters, with a reliable operation of the system. By the way, I'm in the presentation, I'm professor of the University of Chile in the field of physical asset management and predictive maintenance. And we are, of course, using all the knowledge in this field to be sure our solutions are safety. Of course, it is the most important thing in some project like this. Now we're involved, we're in the middle of this project. We are making a retrofit of a backhoe. This is a backhoe of 70 HP, 92 HP in peak. And well, it's we are in the middle of the second stage. In the first one, we tested at all the power design in different powers stages and scenarios to be sure the design can accomplish what will be the different loads and condition of operation of the backhoe for the second one. Here we, if you add to accomplish standards and of course safety challenges, we're developing in mechanical point of view, damage tolerance analysis for the system, isolation of vibration for the fuel cell and from the comfortable and ergonomic driving of the operator, powertrain design and configuration of the control system for a different way to drive when you compare with a pickup. We're starting with another one project related with garbage trucks, urban garbage trucks, to retrofit from diesel to hydrogen. Of course, it's different conditions, like in the backhoe. Hydraulic system needs to be powered and fed to in a control way, you know, in the manage that you can respond from the needs of the operator. Other one we are studying in parallel is related with a train to move from or retrofit from diesel to hydrogen. If you see, we are working in the demand, and mainly related with something in middle of the OEMs and the producers of hydrogen, and mainly related with the retrofits. New challenges are in our country related with hydrogen, and our government department related with incentive this kind of project called Corfo is send a lot of programs related with hydrogen projects. And one of them is to manufacture and assembling electrolyzers in components and complete parts in our country. They help with the company that can be win the proposal up to $10 million for the 60% of the project. The idea is the company must to invest with the rest of the 40% of the amount of money, with up to 10 million for the complete project. What is the idea? We are looking for partners from this project. This is in the north of our country. I don't know if you know, but Chile has the driest desert in the world, in the north of Chile, Atacama Desert. And of course, the solar source is very important. And near there, the mining field is very important too. By the way, for that, we're working very strong in a retrofit of mining machines, equipment. And if you see in this case, there are a port for two important mines in the north of Chile. In this case, it's Atacama region. And near there, they're going to install projects of ammonia, okay? 2 ammonia projects in that areas. And you have near photovoltaic solar power plants. And of course, in the port and in the mountains, you have two important copper mine. We're looking at partners to be interesting to work with us to be involved in this proposal to can manufacturers electrolyzers in our country. This is the amount of ammonia projects in Tarapacá for those projects, but this is the beginning, because it's for the first part of the investment, but for the profits at the first time, and the second part will be, of course, to export for the rest of needs of our country and the rest of South America. And at the end, and on behalf of Corfo, I show you few programs that would be interesting for you to be part. Okay, you can consult in the website of Corfo, corfo.cl. And I'm gonna remark the most important that I think will be can be interesting for you. First one is related with the green hydrogen facilities. Okay, seek to catalyze private investment in hydrogen, green hydrogen values. Okay, mitigating risk and reduce cost. Another one is a technological program for hydrogen demand. We are working on to trying to be part of this one too. high technology innovation, support for research and development. As you see, if you see, we are working together with universities in the electrical and control area and mechanical and hydraulic too, to solve the challenges. And manufacturing and assembly of electrolyzer, that the project that I showed you, I think would be interesting for company to be part with us in this proposal. And technology for the manufacture of components for hydrogen, green and vehicle for industry. Well, that will be my short presentation. I hope it will be interesting for you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for your speech, Eduardo. We will be taking a 10-minute break. Please feel free to stretch or use the restroom, and we will resume in 10 minutes. Please take a seat as we will be resuming International Day. We will go on to our next speaker. Oh, it was 10 minutes. 2:40. Right now. So our next speaker, Christine Watson, from U.S. Department of Energy from the United States of America.
Hello, starting 10 minutes early. My name is Christine Watson. I am a technology manager in the United States Department of Energy in the Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office. Do you want to wait 10 minutes?
My apologies. There's a slight systematic problem. We will resume in 10 minutes. Hello again. Please take a seat as we will finally be resuming International Day. Our first speaker will be Christine Watson from U.S. Department of Energy from USA. I'm sorry.
Hello. As I said before, my name is Christine Watson. I'm a technology manager for the United States Department of Energy in the Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technologies Office, specifically in the Safety Codes and Standards subprogram. So today I'll be giving an overview of the U.S. Department of Energy's hydrogen program, but specifically on our Safety Codes and Standards activities. I'm not going to go into great detail on this slide because there's a lot of information on my slides and I don't have time to cover everything. So for this one, I'm just highlighting these goals on the right. The current administration goals include a net zero emissions economy by 2050 and 50 to 52% reduction by 2030, as well as 100% carbon pollution-free electric sector by 2035. And then the priorities down here, I want to highlight them because they're very applicable to what I'm going to talk about, is ensuring benefits go to all Americans with a focus on jobs and Justice 40. The Justice 40 initiative is that 40% of benefits from federal funding would go to disadvantaged communities. This is a summary of the policies and activities that have happened very recently. There is a list, you can, it's in the conference brochure, so I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a lot, but highlight the really big ones. The bipartisan infrastructure law in 2021 was signed. That provided $9.5 billion US dollars for clean hydrogen. And then we had the Inflation Reduction Act, which included significant tax credits. Those are very, very big big policies for hydrogen recently. The bipartisan infrastructure law also required the publication of a U.S. National Clean Hydrogen Strategy and Roadmap, which the DOE published in 2023. I'm not going to go into great detail about this because I'm giving another presentation tomorrow on USA Day, focusing more on the clean hydrogen strategy. But I do want to highlight that the enablers here, right there. The enablers for the hydrogen strategy include good jobs and workforce development, safety codes and standards, and an energy environmental justice. They really support the clean hydrogen strategy, which, just to give a quick summary, its three main parts is targeting the strategic high impact end uses, so looking at the hard to decarbonize sectors, reducing the cost of clean hydrogen. We have the hydrogen shot goal, which is to have the cost of production of hydrogen to be $1 per kilogram in 1 decade. And a focus on the regional networks. Those regional networks are the hydrogen hubs that receive the bulk of that $9.5 billion. So I'm going to focus today on the safety aspects of our program. This is where I work primarily in the Safety Codes and Standards subprogram. We have three main areas of our subprogram. We fund foundational R&D. That research and development does inform the codes and standards, as well as involve stakeholder engagement. Enabling safe deployment through safety R&D, we provide scientific basis, as I said, to develop codes and standards as well as to revise them. Enable improvements to the permitting process. If you've heard anything about the permitting situation in the United States, it's extremely complicated. So we work to improve that as much as we can. We support the best safety practices for hydrogen fuel cell deployments. We also develop and enable widespread sharing of safety-related information resources and conduct workforce development activities. I'm going to highlight some of the recent projects that have happened within our subprogram that are very cool, such as this one. We had, this was this year in January, Sandia National Laboratory, in collaboration with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, did liquid hydrogen pooling experiments to enable model development and validation. This is a very unique experiment of pooling liquid hydrogen to validate the models, to justify the safety requirements, and remove any unnecessary restrictions for large liquid hydrogen systems. Sandia did 16 tests over 4 days. These were unignited liquid hydrogen experiments. We're very happy to say that they did remain unignited and no accidental ignitions. NREL's, the National Renewable Energy Lab, used their hydrogen wide area monitoring sensing system to monitor the hydrogen concentrations. So there's a lot of information that was gained, and we are very anticipating the publication of a report on this. In addition to safety research and development, we also include the new topic, a relatively new topic of understanding the indirect impacts of hydrogen releases. This has been known for a while, but more recently has come into light in US and Europe and has become a concern with environmental and community groups. And the concern is that although hydrogen itself is not a greenhouse gas, it does indirectly react with other chemicals in the atmosphere, other gases in the atmosphere, and therefore may have an impact on global warming. So to understand it better and to mitigate any impacts from it, the Department of Energy has a $2.2 million agreement with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, including the University of California, Irvine and Princeton University, to model atmospheric levels of hydrogen, understand soil uptakes, and inform the estimates of the global warming potential of hydrogen. We've also awarded $8.6 million in developing parts per billion level sensors and quantification technologies, where safety sensors are typically, or hydrogen sensors are typically configured and developed for safety levels. The climate scientists are concerned that the very, very small level leaks, the parts per billion level leaks, may have an impact on the atmosphere. 2 weeks ago, the DOE RPE office announced $18 million for the development of monitoring systems of hydrogen facilities, and we do have continuing national lab research on this topic. Another project that I'm pretty excited about is the Hydrogen Component Reliability Database. This is a project that collects high-quality data to improve safety, reduce failure rates and maintenance costs, and inform component R&D to enable reduced hydrogen emissions. So what we've heard from the research community is that they need hydrogen component reliability data. We've heard from industry that their data needs to be maintained securely and anonymously. We've also heard from community and environmental groups that they want data to be released publicly. So we've taken all of those concerns and put them into one project. This is the HyCred project. It is a taxonomy project between the National Renewable Energy Lab and the University of Maryland, where industry is invited to share their data securely and anonymously with NREL. That data is then anonymized and combined with data from other companies and other organizations. And once we have enough data that it can be safely released, the goal is to share that data publicly. This will enable increase of safety and reliability. It'll also enable reduced hydrogen emissions and reduce the maintenance cost. So if you are interested in getting involved and sharing your data, please contact me, or you can email the highcredit@nrel.gov. This is another cool project we have that the DOE has funded at NREL. It's the Heavy Duty Fast Flow Hydrogen Fueling Protocol R&D. So NREL has implemented and validated a heavy duty fast flow hydrogen fueling protocol with industry supplied hardware in a real world environment. They achieved a 70.5 kilogram fill in 7 minutes, meeting the fueling table fill time estimates. And they have upgraded the end-roll hydrogen filling simulation model to generate fueling tables for the new SAE J2601-5 protocols. And these are pictures of the heavy-duty facility there. Then we have the Hydrogen Codes and Standards Applicability Navigator. This is in response to a lot of inquiries we get at the DOE asking if I'm developing a new hydrogen technology, if I'm getting started into hydrogen for the first time, where do I start with the codes and standards? Because the codes and standards can be difficult to navigate. And so we've developed the HiScan tool. This is online, it's free to use, and this is really targeted for new hydrogen stakeholders to better understand where to get started in the codes and standards. It's pretty cool. You go online, you select your components, your station, your answer questions about your components, and then you get the codes and standards. The PowerPoint cut off a little bit there. The current focus is on NFPA2 and ASME B31-12. And then we have the Center for Hydrogen Safety. So in 2003, the Department of Energy established an objective team of hydrogen safety experts. So it's called the Hydrogen Safety Panel. Their job has been to review DOE-funded projects for safety. They provide their expertise to us. They also develop training materials for hydrogen. They developed a set of courses on hydrogen training for first responders. They also maintain the lessons learned database and best practices on our Hydrogen Tools portal. Some years ago, we discovered that industry needed better accessibility to the Hydrogen Safety Panel and those courses that the Safety Panel were developing. So we moved the courses over to the Center for Hydrogen Safety, which was created as a nonprofit partnership between under AICHE in partnership with DOE. And so the DOE courses on first responders are now living under there. They are still continuing to be free, while the Center for Hydrogen Safety also develops other newer and more hydrogen safety courses. One of the latest courses that has been developed was the course on laboratory safety culture planning. That was developed with DOE funding. It was just released late last year, and that is under the Center for Hydrogen Safety now, but it is free for everyone. So it is available to all universities who are getting into hydrogen. Highly recommend it. So getting more into hydrogen education, we have the H2 Edge project with EPRI. This is a project developing university curriculum on hydrogen, not just separate curriculum on hydrogen, but incorporating hydrogen into existing engineering curriculum. I'm also developing, through the University of Delaware, developed a hydrogen lab course for their class. H2 Edge is also developing professional development courses because there's been a lot of need for people who are experts in industry but are not experts in hydrogen to learn about hydrogen. And then we have a brand new course that's just started this year. It's really cool, on hydrogen workforce acceleration. This is a CRADO, which is a cooperative research and development agreement between the national labs and industry. This particular project is looking at hydrogen education for the level above high school and below a four-year college. So we're looking at trade schools, community colleges, and apprenticeships, and developing education materials for those schools. And going back to the environmental justice, the DOE has a lot going on in environmental justice. I will just highlight this link at the bottom on draft responses to frequently asked questions and comments and concerns about clean hydrogen. and examples of international collaborations. We have a ton of international activity as well. The main one I want to highlight here is the International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells in the Economy, IPHE. We are in the Safety Codes and Standards subprogram. We're heavily involved in the Regulation Code Standards and Safety Working Group, which has 3 task forces: the bulk storage, the permitting, and the maritime task forces. And these are some resources and opportunities for engagement. If you want to know more about what's going on in the DOE with hydrogen, please sign up, this link down here at the bottom, to receive our newsletter. There is so much going on in hydrogen right now that I can't even keep track of everything. And so our office uses the newsletter to keep track of what the other teams are up to. And that is all that I have. Please come see me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for your speech. We will go on to our next speaker, Anirudh of Adani New Industries from India.
Hello everyone. So I think for the next session I'll have to change the picture. It's a bit from before. So a very quick introduction. My name is Anirudh. I lead the sales efforts for the hydrogen business for Adani Group. Before I begin, I want to thank the organizers for all the hard work and the efforts that you've taken. So the theme of the presentation is how green hydrogen is actually available in large volumes and molecules, and how this one company in India is developing this strategy. So I will break this into 2 parts. First, I'll just give you an overview of Adani Group, and then subsequently how we are developing the hydrogen supply chain. Sorry, how do you go to the next slide? Yeah. So Adani Group is one of the largest conglomerates in India. We started off with the ports business. Currently, we handle almost 50% of India's container traffic. We have 15 ports in India and overseas locations. We are also one of India's largest private sector power companies, with almost 17 gigawatts of installations. We also started our renewable business around 10 years ago, and currently we are one of the world's largest solar and wind developers. We have an operational portfolio of 10 gigawatt, and remaining 12 gigawatt is under construction. Continuing the power theme, we are also India's largest private sector transmission company, where we have HV substations, 765 kV lines, and we have also commenced a new business. This is called pumped hydro storage. The 5th photo that you can see, it combines solar and hydropower to give you 15 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours of round-the-clock renewable power. The last business that we are showing is the solar module manufacturing. We are India's largest module manufacturer. Currently, the capacity is 4 gigawatt. We are already expanding to 14 gigawatt. A second slide, just to give you an overview, we are also present in the gas business, where we operate a city gas business. And we also have India's second largest LNG terminal. Our gas business is a collaboration with Total Energies of France, and it's a 50-50 JV. We are also India's second largest cement company. We are also present in other sectors, like we operate 7 airports in India. We have data center power solutions, where for all the technology companies, we give renewable power. And we also have a copper smelter. So I will not show the other businesses. But just to give you an idea, we have a market cap of more than $200 billion, and we are present in many of these infra sectors. But the theme for today is hydrogen, and within the Adani Group, the hydrogen entity is called Adani New Industries. All of our hydrogen initiatives are housed in this particular company. So when we talk of a supply chain, for us, supply chain starts with land and all the value chains that is required for a successful green hydrogen or a green ammonia project. So we have a large tract of land. This is the map of India, and on the western side, the state in blue is the state of Gujarat. In this particular location, we have taken land of almost 85,000 hectares exclusively for hydrogen. This is enough to generate 45 gigawatts of solar and wind RE power, and that is enough in turn to generate 2 million tons of hydrogen. If you were to convert it in ammonia terms, it's more than 10 million tons. And all of this land is only for hydrogen. We cannot use this to sell power into the grid or do anything else. And as you can see from the pictures, the terrain is completely flat. It's one of India's best locations for solar and wind generation. It's very, very similar to the salt plains in Utah in the US. And the site is the best in India, as I said. Very close to the site where we have received land for hydrogen, the green company within Adani, a sister company, is building the world's largest wind and solar renewable park of 30 gigawatt capacity. So a lot of the site terrain, the conditions are very similar to what we have, and we'll use the knowledge that is already present in-house within the Adani Group. The second part is the manufacturing ecosystem. So currently, all of this is in one of our flagship ports, which is the port of Mundra. There we have module manufacturing, and we start from the wafer and ingot level. We then do module assembly. We also manufacture wind turbines. We currently manufacture India's largest onshore wind turbine of 5.2 megawatt nameplate capacity. And this is where we also plan to have our electrolyzer manufacturing capacity. As I said, we are present in the transmission business and in the natural gas business. So when it comes to actually transporting molecules or even transferring electrons, we can use both. So it would be a mix and match, and we already have the availability, already have the expertise in-house. The heart of the green hydrogen project is obviously the electrolyzer. Within the group now, we have our own technology by the basis of some strategic partnerships that we did in Australia and in Italy. And our current standard technology is alkaline. So we believe that for the first phase, for the first few years, it would be better to have alkaline electrolyzers. Going forward, we have plans to do AEM and even PEM, depending on the way the market matures. The pictures that you can see on the slide are actually a 25 kilowatt electrolyzer system, stack and BOP. Currently, we have won a grant from the government of India for a capacity of almost 300 megawatts. And we plan to have the assembly line operational by 2026. The last part is the ports. And as we said, we are one of the largest ports company in India with presence across both sides. And we are very well positioned to cater to demand from Japan and Korea, and even to the European demand that is there. We are also present internationally in some ports in Israel and Tanzania, along with some of the mines and the coal mine that we have in Australia. So ultimately, within Adani New Industries, we will have all of the component manufacturing on the left-hand side. We will have the hydrogen production, 100% green hydrogen production in the midstream, and downstream we'll have all of the different end derivatives like ammonia, methanol, and even SAF going forward. Within the new industries, the hydrogen team itself is currently more than 100 plus. There are a lot of people working in different aspects. We have a very strong technology team, both on the process side and even on the electrolyzer side. So the first phase that we are targeting is a 1 million ton green ammonia project, and in which we plan to use the Indian grid. The objective here is to have almost 4 gigawatts of solar and wind installations, use the Indian grid, and then have electrolyzers in the port, and then we can export it. But because our project volumes are so large, for the subsequent phases, we are not using the grid. What we're doing is we move the electrolyzers upstream, and then we plan to have all of the electrolyzers right next to the solar and wind park, and then have a hydrogen pipeline that brings hydrogen to the port location. And in the port, you have multiple ammonia trains, methanol trains, and almost 24/7 hydrogen available because the pipeline acts as a storage medium. And that's one key differentiator that we have. A very important slide, right from day one, we are complying with all the 3 pillars of RED II and RED III Act that Europe has. We are already complying with them. We'll have hourly matching between the power generation and the electrolyzer consumption. And of course, these are the upper limits that are being shown. We can cater to whatever requirements that the customers have in terms of the carbon footprint. Already, we are working with leading engineering companies, contractors. We have a feasibility study done by Toyo of Japan, and currently we are at pre-feed stage for the first phase. We also have a lot of different pilots. So there is a pilot in which there's a 5 megawatt electrolyzer stack that is about to be commissioned within a few weeks. We are also working with IHI of Japan to have 20% co-firing in one of our coal plants. So this would be the second plant globally after JERA's plant in Hekinan, where a 20% co-firing has been done successfully. We are also working with Ballard, where we have a hydrogen fuel cell truck for one of our mines. And in one of the natural gas pipelines that we have, we are planning to inject up to 4% hydrogen to test the feasibility. So different pilots, different initiatives across the group in the hydrogen space. So ultimately, the vision that we have is to have one of the biggest hydrogen hubs in the port of Mundra, which is a flagship port. We will have more than 45 gigawatts of solar and wind installations. We will have 2 million tons of green hydrogen, and then we would have different derivatives depending on the market requirement. So the message that we have is the 3 main pillars for any successful hydrogen project is to be reliable and to be scalable. So we have a very large ecosystem being developed, 2 million tons of hydrogen. We can have different volumes of ammonia for the market in Korea and Japan and in other locations. Because we control so much of the value chain, we are also very reliable, and we can effectively meet 10-year, 15-year, 20-year contracts backed by very large balance sheets. So that's the message. And if there's one highlight that you have to take away from this, it would be that green hydrogen is actually here. There's a very large company. It's a real project, a lot of engineering work happening, pre-feed happening, and we expect molecules to be available from 29 onwards. And if there are any queries, feel free to reach out, please. So me and my colleague are here, and then we can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Anirudh. Our next speaker is Javier Bray of Spanish Hydrogen Association from Spain.
Okay, thank you very much for being here with me today, this afternoon. We're going to talk about the hydrogen initiatives in Spain, and also we are going to devote some minutes to talk about the Spanish National Hydrogen Association. This association was created in 2002, so we are 22 years old. Of course, we launched the association in Spain with the idea of promote the hydrogen economy in our country. We have a board of directors. We have a secretary, a vice president, and a chairman of the board that currently it's me. We have 433 members today. Here you have a picture with some of the logos of our partners, of our members. I would like to remark that there is a very good distribution along all the hydrogen value chain. We have members that are producing hydrogen, manufacturing electrolyzers, for example, manufacturing reformers, We have members that are working with hydrogen transmission and distribution. We have partners that are using the hydrogen in engines or fuel cells, and also we have partners that are developing R&D. Also, we have a very good distribution on the different natures of our members. We have universities, research centers, small companies, large companies, utilities. We have startups, we have some spin-offs from universities and so on. And also I would like to remark here that there is also a very good geographical distribution. We have members from the different regions of Spain, but also from abroad. So we welcome members that doesn't have an office in Spain. They want to start thinking in enter into Spain as a market, or they want to know what's happening in Spain. They are more than welcome to become a member of the association. I would like to give a special thank, of course, to the promoting members, those members that are helping us with more effort so we can do more activities along the year. And as you can see, we have also Korean members between our promoting members. We are developing projects in Spain. We are promoting R&D. We are working in the transmission of the R&D from the academia to the industry. We are also working in education and dissemination, also as the colleague from the Department of Energy has mentioned, working in the education, in training the people, in developing new skills regarding hydrogen is very important. So we cooperate with universities, with the schools in introducing hydrogen in the education. And also we work in legislation and regulation. We participate with, in the development of new regulation, not only in Spain, but also in Europe. In 2005, 19 years ago, we started with our international activity. Currently, we have signed 22 different bilateral agreements with different countries. As you can see, we have agreements with Latin America, North America, Europe, Asia, and of course, Korea. In those agreements, we try to promote the cooperation between the members of the associations and counterparts in the other country. For example, in R&D, in developing new products, imports, exports, developing projects, financing, and so on. So you are more than welcome to contact me, to contact the association, if you think that we can help you in some way to enter into the Spanish market. Also, since 2005, we organize every 2 years the European Hydrogen Energy Conference. The last one was in 2024, so it was this year in March. Next one is going to be in 2026, also in March. Next one is going to be in Seville, which is a very beautiful city in the south of Spain. Although the name is European Conference, we received visitors from 35 different countries in our last edition. We had 1,300 visitors, as you can see, from 35 different countries. This is one of the major events regarding hydrogen in Europe. Well, if we are going to talk about Spain, it's mandatory that we talk about Europe. Sorry, because there is a lot of information in those slides. I want that you have the complete information about what's happening in Europe and in Spain. This presentation is available for you if you want. So I'm going to explain some slides. Currently, in Europe, we are working in the development of regulation. It is very important that we establish what's green, what's renewable hydrogen, what's low carbon hydrogen. So we have invested the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024, in explaining, in defining what's renewable hydrogen and the derivatives from renewable hydrogen. So the synthetic fuels, like sustainable aviation fuels, like SAF, that we can produce from hydrogen. So we also have defined the renewable fuels of non-biological origin, and we have regulated what characteristics should have these kinds of fuels. And also, we have put figures. We have put objectives. For example, in this slide, objectives for the industry. We should replace the fossil hydrogen for renewable hydrogen, and we should replace the current fossil fuels for renewable fuels based on hydrogen. So we are working now in the definition of those objectives, but also in the different countries, like Spain, we are working in the transposition of those legislation and regulation to Spain, to our country. We are also, in Europe and in Spain, establishing figures for transportation, for the use of hydrogen in transportation. Regarding automobiles, for example, we are going to set a hydrogen refueling station every 200 kilometers of road or in the major cities. But it's not only about roads. We are also establishing the use of sustainable aviation fuels in aviation or renewable fuels with no biological origin, so derivatives from hydrogen, in maritime sector. So hydrogen is going to be present very soon, starting 2030 in Europe, in the different means of transportation. Talking about Spain, of course, we have a strategy. We have the National Energy and Climate Plan, as you can see. This plan that was updated yesterday, by the way, so now it's obsolete, my slide. In this plan, we are establishing objectives for renewables in Spain. I would like to remark just one, which is this one, the 74%, which is here. By 2030, we are going to have in Spain 74% of renewable power in our electricity mix. I have to say that now, currently, 2024, we have 50%. So 50% of the power in Spain came from renewable. We want to reach third quarters by 2030, and we're going to be 100% renewable beyond 2030. But this plan also established figures and also established objectives for hydrogen. By 2030, we want to have 150 hydrogen refueling stations in Spain. We want to have 150 buses, for example, running on hydrogen. But the most important one is this one. We want to have, according to this plan, okay, according to the plan which is on the screen now, we were going to have 4 gigawatts of electrolyzers by 2030. As I have mentioned, yesterday our plan was updated, and now the plan is to have 12 gigawatts of electrolyzers by 2030. So not 4, but 12. We have multiplied by 3 the objective. Well, I would like to remark the importance, the role that Spain has in Europe. Let me put 2 examples. This is the first one, okay? In Europe, we have launched 4 important projects of common European interest. These projects, you can see here, are regarding the development of technology. The first one, Hy2Tech. The production and use of hydrogen. The second one, Hy2Use. The third one is the development of infrastructure. And the fourth one is for the development of solutions for mobility using hydrogen. Well, in Europe, we have 28 countries, okay? The weight of Spain in those projects is 10%, 20%, and in the last 15%. So there's a lot of presence of Spain in the European projects. In Europe, we have the European Hydrogen Bank. The European Hydrogen Bank make an auction every year, and it to support part of the projects in Europe. The European Hydrogen Bank pays for the difference between the renewable hydrogen and the fossil hydrogen, okay, per kilogram. Well, in the last auction, 7 European projects were funded. 3 of them in Spain, other 2 in Portugal, so close to Spain, and the other 2 in the north of Europe. So the southern Europe is going to have a very important role in green hydrogen production in Europe and in the world. We also have a strategic project on hydrogen. In this project, which is developed between 2021 and 2030, the government of Spain is investing 7 billion euro, and the industry is investing 10 billion euro. So it's a total of 17 billion euro invested in hydrogen technologies in our country. And we are creating 280,000 jobs in hydrogen technologies. This is the reason for which I told previously, training is so important, because we are going to create the jobs, but we do not have the skilled people we need to cover the jobs. Also, we are carrying on a strong work, as I mentioned before, in the development of R&D and in transferring this R&D from the academia, from the universities and research centers to the companies. In the association, we carry on a census, a list of hydrogen projects in Spain. We represent, here in the map, the projects that our members are promoting. We update every year the census, and now we are working in the 2024 update, which we'll be reading in a couple of months. So those figures are from 2023, to be honest. But in 2023, we list 123 projects with a total of 11 gigawatt by 2030, and a total investment of 21 billion euro. So we know that now, by 2024, some of those projects are going to disappear, but we are going to have another new projects, because, of course, it's a live census. Some projects are feasible from the economical point of view and they continue, and some projects finally are not able to close the financing of the project, and they have to close. But as you can see, there is a large potential for green hydrogen production in our country. For that reason, I remark my invitation to all of you, if you want to know about what projects are in Spain or what can your company do in Spain, please contact us, because we can help you. The picture on the right is the report that we elaborate, and it's a public report somewhere in our webpage, and you can have the complete list of the projects that are being developed in Spain. Because in Spain, we have three strengths when talking about hydrogen. First, our potential in renewable power. We have renewable power enough to produce a large amount of hydrogen at a very cheap price. So we can be self-sufficient in hydrogen, but we can also export hydrogen. Second, our industry. As I mentioned, when talking about our 433 members, we have manufacturers of electrolyzers, we have manufacturers of compressors, pipelines, tanks. So we have a strong industry. But understand that we still need more industry in our country if we want to fulfill the objectives that we have. So of course, we have manufacturers in Spain, but we are also open to new manufacturers. And our third strength is our R&D. We have an excellent R&D in our country. We develop technology, and we are very open to transfer this technology to other companies. Today, we have been talking about new developments in new technologies for electrolysis, for example, solid oxide, AEM, or new fuel cells, or reversible fuel cells, or new kind of technology of compressors, catalysts. There's a lot of this stuff in our R&D centers. I told you that in our webpage we have the report of the projects that we are developing in Spain. We have more documentation. You can see we have a complete list of the members, including the contact detail of our members, what they are doing, what they want to do, in which way they are open to cooperate. And also we have reports regarding our R&D, the R&D that we are developing in Spain. So don't hesitate if you want to come to Spain. It's a very good opportunity for you and also for our country. And we are more than open to welcome you and to help you to look for the appropriate partner in Spain. Thank you very much for being with me today.
Thank you for your speech, Javier. We will have our final speaker, Khaled Naguib, Hydrogen Egypt, from Egypt.
Good afternoon, everybody. So it's the last speaker, end of the day. Everybody's tired, but let's get up and get excited here, okay? Come on. Yeah. Let's talk about hydrogen, right? And Korea. Korea #1 in technology and everything, okay? So I wanted everybody to wake up. So hold on to your seats and get ready for the ride. This is like Disneyland. Okay, so let's get to business here, right? Blah, 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 okay? So how does this work? Like that? Okay, good. So here's us at COP27. This is where it started, ground zero, right? Thanks to this lady here, Dalia Samir. Get up. Look to them. Talk about women empowerment, you know, really. Dalia is a mother of 2, and she does 99% of the work. I do 1%. I just get up to act like a clown. It's the 1%, okay? So she does everything. She really, okay? So Hydrogen Egypt was born. It's our baby in COP27. So what happened in COP27 was, I don't know, does this work? Hello? Hello? Yeah, okay. So what happened in COP27, right? We worked in a very narrow area of hydrogen and transport. We learned about hydrogen in ports and logistics. We represented ship owners, we tugboats, offshore supply vessels, offshore construction, you name it, okay? We did it. So anybody here in the shipping industry or boats or something like that? No? Okay. Well, in the offshore business and the vessel business, there's no room for mistakes, right? So everything's got to be perfect. So one of the shipping lines we work with, Belgian shipping line, you should look at this company. It's called CMB.tech. So they were originally ship owners, 100-year-old Belgian company. And what they did was they decided to start decarbonizing before the IMO regulations forced them to do that. So what they did there was they, is that clock right? I've been talking for 17 minutes? No way. Is it right? The clock? No way. Am I boring? Okay, thank you. What's your name? Yeah, so I can't pronounce it, but you sound like a nice guy. So enough joking around, right? So we saw ship owners asking, they said, hey, we want hydrogen cylinders to be delivered on board. I said, what? Hydrogen cylinders? What on earth for? So the engineer explained to me, he said, we use the hydrogen, we mix it with the diesel engines, and it does 3 things. We'll show you this. This is something we really specialize in, and we do it hands-on. And we want to work with Korean companies, Spanish companies, and by the way, what other nationalities are here? You're Chile, Egypt, Korea. And you, sir? The glasses? Korea? India, yes. The big projects, the gigawatts, right? Anybody else? Any other country? Spain, CC. Señor, go. Habla español. So, hola. So yeah, COP27 we went, we were talking just about the vessels, right? Ships. And then when we were there, we were at the Egyptian pavilion, like here. And in the pavilion, everyone was like, the developers, the supply, the Egyptian supply, We have perfect sun. Perfect. Sorry, better than Spain or even India or Chile. Why? We have in the south of Egypt very flat desert, no humidity, no dust, no rain, summer, 365 days a year. It's very hot, you know? Yeah. And Luxor and Aswan. Yeah. So on the back of that, Egypt by then was like 15% renewable energy in the grid, okay? 15%. Wind, solar, and we have some hydro, and we'll have nuclear soon, blah, 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 right? So on the back of that, all these European developers that you see here came to Egypt to get our great sun and wind. We have very good wind too. Along the Red Sea, there's a funnel, the Gulf of Suez, so you have like 400 or 500 kilometers on the mountains of more than 12 meters per second. Can you believe the price of electricity, renewable electricity in Egypt? Can somebody guess? Give me a number per kilowatt hour. You're a smart guy from India, tell me. How much is it in India? What's the kilowatt hour? Don't tell me you don't know. Come on, cough it up. Oh, you don't know? Okay. Maybe you're not an engineer, anyhow. Don't tell me you're an accountant, right? But usually the accountants know the numbers. Anyhow, are you sure you're from India? Okay, there we go. The truth comes out, right? Yeah. I used to work for the FBI. No, I'm kidding. So anyhow, is this like a comedy show today, right? We have to laugh. You have to love it. You have to love hydrogen. What? Whatever it is, we enjoy. Yes! Let's go, hydrogen. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, so back to serious business. So we just went in there, we were talking about the vessels and all this great stuff, right? And then the magic happened. These guys here, all of them. Kadri Simpson, the Energy Commissioner of Europe. Jorgo Chatzimarkakis. Who knows Jorgo? Yeah, Spain. Hydrogen Europe. Everybody should be in that, right? Minister of Social Affairs in Egypt, Minister of Petroleum, Minister of Electricity, developers, Minister of Transport, Dalia. So, what happened? The developers, the supply and demand, and we were in the middle. And they said, hey, we need somebody that knows something about hydrogen. And then somebody pointed, said, oh, these two. And we were like, what? These two? What do you want? And they said, we want a hydrogen association, an Egyptian hydrogen association. You're it, Hydrogen Egypt. There, the baby was born. So quick. It was a good delivery process, easy child, right? It, came out running like hydrogen, burns at 2,000 degrees, and the velocity is so fast, and just a little bit has 30,000 calories, right? So there it happened. I'm sorry I took a lot of time on that slide, but it's important. So let's move on. Blah, blah, Jorgo. We signed an MOU with Hydrogen Europe. We stole their logo for a long time because we didn't have one, and we didn't have the money to make one. Blah, blah. Okay. This is what we do. We do a lot of awareness. We do small-scale production applications. We'll show you some demos of small electrolyzers. Don't tell me you don't know what that is. Okay. We do HR capacity building, local industrialization, technology transfer, very focused on women and young people and all of that good stuff. We really focus on developing the local market from the ground up. It's all about the kilowatts before the gigawatts. That's what we say. Kilowatts before gigawatts. And the applications and blah, blah, right? Good, good. Now, let's move on. See, this is something we do at a school. This is the school I went to when I was a kid, Cairo American College. Class of little old, 85, yes, high school. It's a great school, really great. So here we're talking to the kids, we're showing them the electrolyzer, and we showed them this little video on YouTube. You know how you can make hydrogen at home if you wanted to. But the problem is, you do a demo, so you put a lighter to a little bit, and it goes BAM! And then the kids were like, can we make bombs? We were like, what? No, you don't do that. And the teacher was like, oh, you're making me nervous. So anyhow, that's was great. This is our small electrolyzer and a diesel engine. We'll show you the video. Where's the video, Dalia? Still? Okay. So we did demos with it, and here's with the Minister of Electricity. He's been changed. And, COP 28, Dalia, with King Charles. The presidents were supposed to be standing here, and then we were there. We got on the list. I don't know how, but we did. Okay, we'll talk about that later. You can ask Dalia how she did it. Yeah, go. John Kerry, Sultan Jaber, Namibia, Michael Bloomberg, chairman of the Bank of America, lots of money. So this was on BBC. We had friends calling us, hey, I'm in London and I see you on the television, Dalia, what are you doing with King Charles? So, yeah. Hey, I hope this style is okay. It's late in the afternoon. We need to wake up. Thank you, sir. You can send that to me in an email. These are all our partners, friends, association members, people we work with, people we meet in meetings. We just put a lot of logos there. But most of them, it's for real. Ask Dalia. Give them your card to everybody. Free business cards today. We're in the hydrogen valleys. Does anybody know what that is? I'll come back to you, man. What is it? Oh, come on, dude. Get real. Show me some love. Right? So, hydrogen valleys is like a concept of from A to B, like say from Seoul to Busan or one of these cities, and you have main hydrogen production from a refinery, and then you have all the infrastructure, refueling, blah, 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 blah. That's the model that the US uses, and in India you have something else. And so, yeah, in Egypt we do hydrogen village, hydrogen cluster, hydrogen valley, mega project, from the ground up. Most national plans, like countries like us in the global south, we talk about the big projects. But those are years away. Feed studies, 5 years. Project permits, blah, 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 blah. A project starts, you won't see hydrogen for 5-10 years. But hydrogen for the global south, for Egypt, for Africa, for India, maybe even Spain on the Mediterranean. You can use a small electrolyzer. You've seen those in the conference? They're great. 1 kilowatt, 2, 10. You can run a mobile. You can run a lamp. In Egypt, we can cook with it. We can weld with it. We can live with it. Okay? So it's good stuff. We'll show you. Seeing is believing, right? So let's move on. We're in the Hydrogen Valley in Greece and a number of other countries, and soon to be in Egypt. We work with all kinds of institutions, great big names like the World Bank and all that. This gets interesting. We had a conference. We invite you to our Mediterranean Hydrogen Conference. Listen up, Spain. Spain, hello, Spain. Si, senor. Are you with me? So, we had a conference in September. Dalia was the organizer. Don't ever organize a conference yourself. It's torture. So anyhow, yes, my friend. So we're launching the Egyptian Hydrogen Valley. It's called the Valley of Ra. Ra was the god of sun. See the rays like this? Okay? I'll tell you a very funny story about that, but later, because maybe we're being too funny. The organizers looking at me with these looks. Okay? This is blah, 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 blah. Interesting, right? So Egypt, great petrochemical infrastructure, gas, power, you name it. And it's very unique in a special sense, right? So this is where I market our country. Cairo, Alexandria, Damietta, Port Said. This triangle here, as you can see, is very busy. Why? That's like 300 kilometers by 300 kilometers, okay? And there, that's literally the cradle of civilization. And so is this, right here, along the Nile. The Nile is great, but it's kind of a curse, you know what I mean? It's like what you call the Dutchman disease. Anybody know what that is? I'm not really sure either, but it's okay. So there, and this is really serious, like 60, 70% of the population live in this very dense, it's one of the most dense areas in the world, you know, like Hong Kong or something. 60 million people, and most of them are poor, and most of them can't read, okay? So that's where hydrogen represents a real shift, a shift to energy sovereignty, where people can take control of the energy they need for their daily life, for cooking, for cleaning water, okay? Running a mobile. Kids study at night. And then the rest of the population lives along the Nile. Again, it's the same agricultural ways as in 7,000 years ago, by bucket, taking the water from the Nile. I'm not saying that we don't have big industries like you see here in agriculture. We have all that, right? But we're a developing country. So what does that mean? That means we're going to continue, all the new emissions are coming from our part of the world. So if you say to an Egyptian family, look, I want you to stop using wood for your cooking, and you need to get clean energy. Okay, fine. How do I pay for that? You know, it's a very simple decision. No, that's too expensive. I'll burn wood. That's Africa. Probably India too, right? That's something you know, my friend. So, this is the Gulf of Suez, where I told you the wind comes up here and you got this great wind here. This is the desert. This is where we have mega projects of solar energy. Very cheap. Did I tell you how cheap it was or not yet? No? Okay. Nobody wants to guess, right? Spain? What is it? You don't know in Spain? What is the cost of solar energy in Spain? Per kilowatt hour, 50 cents, 40 cents? What? Tell me. 12. In Egypt, 1. 1 cent per kilowatt hour. That makes hydrogen at $2 a kilogram, $3 a kilogram. And if you're not going to compress it and store it and transport it, it's very cheap. There's the math. All right, let's move on. Pathway, this was a UNIDO study by the United Nations. Egypt's path is through the fertilizer industry because we have 6 million tons of ammonia. I'm going to skip through all this rubbish. Sorry. Refineries. Let's get to the interesting stuff. Yes, okay. Egypt. Egypt, well, we're not as big as India, but we have something like 10 solid projects, 5 very serious, probably 3 that will get to FID, okay? Simple. So what Egypt did was they had this open door policy to sign MOUs, okay? And that was a way to get into discussions with the developers, okay, and the government. Very simple. So I'll just go through these, right? This was us. We do consulting, so anybody that wants to come to Egypt to work, either making electrolyzers or big projects. Siemens, Dutch, Belgian consortium. See, look, 300 megawatts, first phase, 100 megawatt electrolyzer. This company is producing green hydrogen already and exporting it to Europe. It's Fertiglobe, probably you guys know. Maersk, AMEA, you know AMEA. EDF, Total, Masdar, 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 Masdar. Oh, wait. Let's come back. Oops. Okay. Yeah, Masdar. See, that's a gigantic. Masdar is like the ADNOC of the, it's a big renewable, huge, gigantic Emirati, big balance sheet, right? Lots of money there. Phased, they'll, bunker, they'll do ammonia and everything else for industry. Egypt's on the critical artery, Suez Canal. Look at this. Total, EDF, Maersk, Amea, Masdar. Belgian consortium, Siemens, Fertiglobe, Scatec, Fortescue. So 207 gigawatts of renewable energy, those 10 projects. Electrolyzers, 15 gigawatt. Total, yes, 36 and a half, right? There you go. Going once, going twice, let's go. Lots of land, lots of wind, lots of land. Look at how red, wind and solar, it's the best in the world. If you're standing here in Egypt and standing here in Saudi Arabia, our solar power is better because we don't have any wind or any humidity or any dust. It's perfect. Come to Egypt for diving vacations. Studies, green energy corridor. Here's us. Yeah, this is just, you can see this on the internet. It's nothing smart. Yeah, we work on a lot of projects, consulting. Tell me if I'm missing something. Oh yeah, look, this is showing you some of the locations of the great, we have water even. We have a good water, underground water. Look at all the red, that's beautiful. It's like candy, I want to eat it. This is where it gets interesting. Small scale applications and production. Is the video ready? Okay. This is an engine. We bought it. Put your foot where your mouth is when it comes to showing the real deal, okay? And that's what we did. So what did we do? We bought an engine, very cheap, MAN from a truck. It's like 120 horsepower. And then we have a cylinder of hydrogen, measuring the CO2, measuring the hydrogen, measuring everything, right? Pretty good stuff. That's the experiment. So how do we, I don't know how to do that. But there's a video, a demo. Can you, IT or communication people, can you please try to, this is a video here. Can you try to, how does it work? Can you check with them? Somehow we have to push play here. Just, can you hold on for a second? Right, okay. Yeah, so this was super interesting. So this was where we did a real demo, and we were injecting the hydrogen. So see here? Oh, yeah. You can see what hydrogen, when it goes into a diesel engine, it does 3 amazing things, all right? Just even a little bit, 1 or 2%. What it does is, number one, it cleans the engine. So it removes any CO2 and all the carbon that you see in the engine. That's number one. So it reduces emissions because it burns the fuel all the way. A lot of the fuel doesn't get burned in a car like a diesel or gas. So the hydrogen burns it, okay? That's number one. Number two, so you reduce emissions. 1%, 2% hydrogen in the engine can reduce emissions by 10, 20, 30%. SOx, NOx, CO2, you name it, particles. So in a city like Egypt, probably like in India, the engines are old, burning black, dirty smoke. You can't breathe in Cairo. The air in Korea is so good. It's really something that you have clean air, clean water, good food, very expensive. But it's a developing country, I hope Egypt and India and countries in the global south can use the Korean model. but it's the people, right? They really did it, huh? It's an amazing story. I love it. We're out of time. So, skip, no video? They cannot do it. Okay. Anyhow, you get the point, right? Pretty clear? Okay, good. If you want to talk about it more after, we can talk about it. Okay. There, what we were talking about. See? Hydrogen burns at 2,000 degrees Celsius. It's explosive. Just a little bit has 30,000 calories, but it's light. This is our demos. See? We calculate everything. We've published papers. Anybody wants to work on this, please, 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 please talk to me. Talk to Delia. Very simple. Very, very simple technology. We're all over the media, everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. You can see us on LinkedIn and everywhere. Thank you very much, everybody, really. Thank you, 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 Delia. Thank you, IT people. Give them a round of applause, Kotra. Yes, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, for such an interactive speech for our last final speaker. Thank you for attending International Day. This will be the end of today's session.